Don't worry, this is not the stock exchange. Okay. Hi. This is Ray and Joe.
Hello.
Welcome to Northside Democracy for America, whose mission is to elect socially progressive, fiscally responsible, and ethically committed Democrats to all levels of government within our supportive community. And that's EJ.
It's not Justin.
No. But he's the one who told me to put it in.
Okay.
We want to welcome any people that are watching this virtual meeting or in person for the first time.
Please like on the stream so that we know you're here and that you feed the algorithms.
Yes, that's very important. Please make sure NDFA has your email address by signing up on the Google form, posted in the Facebook comments, at the NDFA table, or on our website. Let's give a shout out to EJ, who's taping this presentation for publication.
And who, it must be said, has a Tallarico for Senate t-shirt on, so he has shamed us all.
Oh my gosh.
Also helped Tallarico in Texas.
Hey, I brought the Stop the War signs. Okay. Welcome, Steering Committee, for the maybe last time. Mary, EJ, Kevin, Mary Claire, Joe, Chuck, Beth, and me.
Okay, that sounded a little more doomy than it should.
Yes.
This is Mary Claire Piseni's last meeting as steering committee chair.
That's why I'm so sad.
She has done it she started before COVID, got us through COVID, got us to this wonderful space. We are super thrilled that you were able to help us get to this place. We are glad you're going to be sticking around just as a valued member. Thank you!
Thank you!
And now that we got that out of the way.
I know I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mary. I mean, not literally. But
Can I say something real quick?
No.
Wait till after. Tributes will come later.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Well, sort of.
If it's a war story, we're good there.
Yes. Next month, we start interviews about the CPS school board candidates. And so that's going to be really interesting.
Because the electoral calendar does not stop. Nor do we.
Yes. Some of different things going on. Let's see. No Kings we had already, so that's good. Wednesday, April 22nd.
We can do this later. Because we have people want to hear.
Oh.
Because we have a lot of folks here. And
actually, okay, we
Yeah,
will do announcements later.
Yes.
But I do want to point out one thing. It's about, and it's a little geeky, but it's really important. The BP union steel bargaining, you know that they've been locked out, and you kind of go, oh, real rich steel people and stuff like that. Well, not really. I mean, what they're fighting over now, because we have the evil Trump administration, I don't want to say his name. Their comment is, in terms of what's going on with the union negotiation, they continue to demand that we cut more than 100 jobs, accept pay cuts to nearly every position, and give up all our bargaining rights. That's what they want, at the minimum, these people to do at BP Steel. So, okay, on that note,
so for those of you that are here or haven't been to one of the post-election meetings for the first time, we used to call these war stories. I'm not sure if that's the right term to use at this particular moment, but the idea is we kind of throw the floor open to hear from people that have worked on various campaigns to talk about weird things that have happened, fun things that have happened, and just what happens when you get involved with a campaign, which is part of what we all do at NDFA. We are blessed. We have a number of candidates that we have supported over this past cycle that are here. We believe a lot of them will speak to us.
would be great.
We're going to start with one of the higher marquee elections and an endorsed candidate that won. The 95% likely new congressperson, 9th District, and Daniel Fisk.
Thank you so much, Joe and
Ray.
Here, I'll just hold this. My name is Daniel Biss. I'm the Democratic nominee for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. As long as I'm holding this sign, I will say I've been thinking a lot these last weeks, this last whatever it is, month and a half now, about what brought us together all those years ago, what brought so many people to support Howard Dean all those years ago. I feel like I've lost my mind reliving that nightmare as the United States goes off to a war, an unjust war, an illegal war, a deranged war, a counterproductive war in the Middle East, a regime change war without a plan or without any reason to believe it's going to do anywhere near as much good as it's already done harm. Here we are again. And so it just reminds me about the importance of this organization and the value of this organization and the value of standing up and organizing and fighting back aggressively and relentlessly and not waiting to put your finger in the wind and figure out, is it politically safe to stand for peace and to stand for justice? And so DFA has done that from day one, and you're doing it today, and I just want to say thank you. The campaign that we ran was a whole thing. We had, it turned out okay. We had 15 candidates. We had some 8-figure number of dollars spent. That's tens of millions. The lion's share by AIPAC and their affiliated organizations, who are used to feeling like the only choice that candidates have is to say the magic words to make AIPAC go away or else to lose. And I wasn't willing to say those magic words. And together, we all built a coalition that shows that you can stand up for justice and stay true to yourself and win. So thank you so much, not only for doing that in our district, but for showing the country that it's possible. For showing every other candidate in the country who's trying to figure out, can I be me and still run and have a chance of winning, that yes, it can be done. So I'm just here today to say thank you. I'm here today to say I plan to stay involved with NDFA. Call on me if I can be helpful going forward, working together for progressive candidates and causes across the north side of Chicago. And we are in a scary moment, and every ounce of activist energy is needed. And so the work that y'all do, it fills my heart, it lifts me up, and I can't wait to fight together. Thank you so much.
So how do we want to do this? Because we do have several candidates.
Well,
how do you want to do this?
Any candidate have to leave like right now. If not, we have a speaker that we'd like to bring forward, and it's just going to be really good.
Let's recognize who we have here, though, real quick.
Okay.
That's fine. I can't see my So everybody just speak up.
Oh yes. So we have our newly re-elected NWRD Water Reclamation Cam Davis is here. And if you want to come up, we got a mic for you.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, not yet. We have. Let's rattle off. So I know Nick Ajewski's here.
Sharon Waller's here.
Sharon Waller. Who else is here? Karina Vaughn is there. Matt Conroy.
Yes.
Hey, not to get. Nick Ajewski. They're all lined up kind of behind the camera. I don't know if they're waiting for the speaker to talk or if anybody else wants to talk about.
I think
things that happen. How are we doing this?
We're going to, we're going to introduce Kylie.
All right, we actually do have a speaker, and because, like I said, the candidates and the elections roll on, and we will continue to work, and so.
Come on, Kylie. I'll talk a little bit. Kylie's from Reform for Illinois.
There we go.
It's Yes, David Orr is he's one of the people there. They have some really important voter legislation in Springfield to battle the Trump evilness. And I think she's going to give us really good discussion. So then we can go to Springfield, all of us, and get it passed. So seriously, Kylie.
All right. Sure, I got this guy. I have 2 mics. That could be fun. All righty. Hi, everyone. My name is Kylie. I work for an organization called Reform for Illinois, as Ray just said. Oh, yep. Sorry. There we go. Alrighty, so Reform for Illinois, just to give you a quick overview if folks are curious, founded in 1997, we have bipartisan origins. Lieutenant Governor Bob Kustra, Republican, and former Senator Paul Simon were our founders, so Democrat and Republican in our origins. We, though, are a 501c3 organization, so nonpartisan by our very nature. I mentioned founded in 1997. My joke is that Reform for Illinois is just barely older than me, which is fun. Yep.
There we go.
Close, yeah, almost to your.
Because you've got the masks. And
I know, the
protect
mask
everything else.
complicates things, but thank you.
No, it's fine.
Perfect. So Reform for Illinois, like I mentioned, nonpartisan now, so we do not endorse, but we are what we call a good government organization. So research and advocacy specifically is our bread and butter, and then our issue areas are ethics, elections, and campaign finance. So that is what I'm kind of here today to discuss. I love to talk, so I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. If there's time for questions, I'm happy to kind of delve into more detail into some of our policy priorities. But to give you a quick overview, one of the things that I spend most of my time on is something called our Fair Elections campaign, which deals with public campaign financing and trying to implement those programs in municipalities throughout Illinois. I can also talk to you, as Ray kind of alluded to, we have some legislation in Springfield that deals with dark money, which I know is a hot topic coming off of the primaries we just experienced. As well, we do advocate for ranked choice voting, so I'm happy to chat a little bit about that. We are unfortunately party to a lawsuit right now trying to implement ranked choice voting in Evanston. So can speak a little bit to that, but unfortunately most updates are still pending and waiting for that court case to proceed. And then I also was told by Ray that you folks might be interested in something called the Illinois Voting Rights Act, which is currently also being considered in Springfield. Reform for Illinois, we're part of a coalition of organizations who advocate for that legislation. Happy to talk about it, but I can tell you in advance, we work with some wonderful folks who are kind of driving that legislation forward, so I'm happy to direct you to them as well if you have additional questions or would like to get involved. So that's kind of the broad overview of what I'm thinking about talking about today. To quickly start us off in terms of fair elections, I'm hoping, since we've got wonks in the audience, folks might already be familiar with public campaign financing, maybe like a show of hands, if that term. Cool, yay! This is thrilling for me. I love when people already know what public financing is. Yeah, sorry, I keep doing the mic thing. Yes. In terms of public campaign financing, talking a little bit more about fair elections, just very briefly for folks who maybe aren't super familiar, public campaign financing programs are basically ways to amplify the voices of small donors, everyday people, to make their donations or contributions more impactful in our elections. It's broadly viewed as one of the best tools we have in this particular environment, the hellscape that we live in, particularly with the Supreme Court that is hostile to most forms of campaign finance reform. So these programs have actually been in existence throughout the country for quite a while. New York City, very notably, has had a public campaign financing program that works exceptionally well and has been in place since the 80s. And in terms of the specifics of how they work, there's 2 main models. There is small donor or small dollar public financing or a matching program. And then there's also a voucher system, which is kind of a newer tactic for public financing programs. It's mainly in use in cities out on the West Coast. We at Reform for Illinois, we've kind of opted for the small donor, small dollar matching approach. More time tested. There's a lot of research to back up that it increases things like donor diversity. It also leads to more diverse candidates, women and people of color getting elected. So to quickly talk you through what we actually do though, we supported a successful effort to pass Illinois' first public campaign financing program in Evanston in 2023. Fortunately, unfortunately, it's not in use quite yet. It is building up funds as we speak, but it will be in place and candidates can opt in to use that program in Evanston during their next mayoral elections. But what I spend most of my day-to-day doing is working on passing public campaign financing in Chicago. we have what's called the Chicago Fair Elections Ordinance, introduced by Alderman Matt Martin of the 47th Ward in June of 2024. Yeah, thank you. I love the public financing. So our Chicago Fair Elections program essentially would create public financing for aldermanic elections in the city. So we have not advanced to mayoral yet, though I think that would be our intention if we can pass this first iteration of the program. And we are very excited about the prospect of making it easier for everyday people, working class people to run for office. We think it would be transformational in Chicago. And in fact, Chicago is the largest U.S. city without a public campaign financing program. So that's a bit about public financing, what I do with that, and what Reform for Illinois does. If folks have questions or you want to get into the details of the program, the wonky stuff, I'm happy to discuss further. But to kind of take us to, at the state level, what we are up to with our dark money legislation. So we currently have HB 5154, which is being carried by State Rep Lindsay LaPointe. And that essentially is a piece of legislation that I call dark money traceback. So with dark money that's entering our system, and if folks are familiar with, broadly speaking, what dark money looks like, essentially it's money where the original source of those funds is unknown. I know we at Reform for Illinois, when we do our campaign finance tracking, very common with super PACs, for instance, to receive dark money from, for instance, a 501c4 nonprofit. We don't know the original source of those funds, just that it came from a C4. Our bill includes provisions that would essentially force super PACs and other covered entities to keep records about the original source of those funds that they receive, and then we would achieve greater disclosure related to dark money. So that is the general aim of the bill. The bill would also address some other kind of flaws or gaps in our system here in Illinois, such as the fact that we lack a definition of what constitutes coordination between a candidate and their super PAC. Don't know if anyone was paying attention a couple years ago, but there was a super PAC aligned with former and now current Republican gubernatorial candidate Darren Bailey. There are allegations that Bailey and his campaign had illegally coordinated with an ironically named super PAC that was supporting him called People Who Play by the Rules PAC. And ultimately, and unfortunately in our view at Reform for Illinois, the case didn't proceed within the Illinois State Board of Elections because Illinois does not have a definition of what constitutes coordination. So part of what our bill would do would provide a definition and hopefully ensure that we don't face those issues again in the future. And then finally, another hot topic. I know I'm in Illinois' 9th congressional district, and this was happening and talked about a lot there. If folks have ever heard of red boxing, which is a fun, I miss the old red box. New red boxing is a tactic where candidates will often use, I call them sketchily named or sketchily made pages on their website to essentially communicate with super PACs. They're strange pages that might have B-roll footage or language like voters need to know that XYZ candidate supports this. Technically a publicly available page to anyone, but really it's a coded message to super PACs. So our legislation, this HB 514 that I've been talking about, in addition to providing for dark money traceback and a coordination definition, would also hopefully put a stop to a lot of the red boxing tactics that we frequently see. That's a little bit about dark money traceback. To talk very quickly about RCV, and I'm really rambling at you guys tonight. Ranked choice voting, another kind of key tenet of what we're up to at Reform for Illinois. We are lucky to work with some really excellent partners like Fair Vote Illinois, if folks are curious. Another group that really drives this push forward. Reform for Illinois, we were behind a successful push via referendum to adopt ranked choice voting in Evanston in 2022. Passed with 82% approval by Evanstonians, which is pretty great. Unfortunately, though, currently party to a lawsuit with the Cook County Clerk about actually implementing RCV. At the center of this, and without getting too into the weeds, is a debate about the power of home rule municipalities to change how they run their elections. We think, and there's a memo actually from former Attorney General Lisa Madigan, indicating that home rule municipalities should be able to actually implement RCV and choose it as their manner of elections. But obviously the Cook County Clerk disagrees, and we're currently, at this point, I believe the lawsuit has been refiled. The city of Evanston was added as a party. The Illinois Supreme Court essentially forced the case back down and asked us to add Evanston, as a party. Waiting for that to proceed. So there's not much more I can say about the lawsuit, unfortunately, but we're hopeful that it will be resolved, and ideally resolved in a way that we can continue implementing RCV in Evanston. In the meantime, though, there's been interest in other places like Peoria Township, Oak Park, Skokie, in actually also adopting RCV. So we think there's a lot of momentum and interest in RCV, and we really hope to see progress there soon. And let's see, finally, I can talk to you folks a little bit about the Illinois Voting Rights Act if you're curious. So as I mentioned before, Reform for Illinois, we're part of a coalition of organizations that advocates for, in short, the ILVRA. But the main organizations who are leading that charge, if you're curious, that would be Change Illinois, the East St. Louis branch of the NAACP, Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, and then, I'm forgetting one organization, and I am going to remember it, the Eugenia Burns Hope Center, which is an organization in Bronzeville. Essentially, I don't know if you folks have noticed, but our Federal Voting Rights Act has been weakened substantially in like the last, I don't know, decade or so. Starting with the Shelby County v. Holder decision. If you're familiar, there's actually another case before the Supreme Court right now, expected to be handed down in the not-too-distant future, called Louisiana v. Collide. That is widely expected to weaken the remaining section of the Voting Rights Act that really protects against vote dilution and gerrymandering. So essentially, the Illinois Voting Rights Act is an attempt to strengthen those protections here in Illinois and improve upon the existing Federal Voting Rights Act. So I will maybe stop there because I feel like I've been talking for quite a while. But yes, that's a broad overview of some of what we do at RFI. I will say, just kind of in conclusion, that if folks are particularly interested in any of our policy priorities, I highly encourage you to get involved, to reach out. I know for our dark money bill, contacting your state reps and state senators is wonderful. For our work on public campaign financing in Chicago, we love when aldermen and alder people get calls about supporting fair elections. And then I know as well with the Illinois Voting Rights Act, they have asked as well for lots of outreach to your state reps and state senators. So with that.
A question or two?
Yeah.
Actually,
How is the matching financed? Is there dedicated money on the property tax or whatever? I mean, how does that work?
Yes, that is an excellent question that we do get a lot. So essentially what we would be hoping for in Chicago and in general, the best practice with funding these public financing programs is to take funds from just the city's general operating budget and set aside, it's a fraction, it's like 0.0006% of the city's budget is what we would need to successfully fund this program. Totals out to about 9 to 10 million over 4 years to be set aside to fund this. And then in terms of how it actually works for candidates, something we've proposed here in Chicago and are hopeful will be in one day the realized version of this program. We do something that is called a tiered match program. So essentially smaller dollar contributions are matched at an even higher rate. So for instance, and under our program currently, there's a 12-to-1 matching ratio from $0 to 25 that are contributed. And then we have a 9-to-1 matching ratio for $26 to 150, which a 9-to-1 matching ratio for context is what's currently used in New York City. If anyone paid attention to now Mayor Mamdani's very successful run, he utilized that program in New York City very successfully to the point where he actually couldn't accept additional contributions because he maxed out what he could receive under the program. So 9-to-1 is already viewed as a really excellent ratio, and so we are trying to improve upon that by having an even better ratio for smaller dollar contributions. Great question.
Thank you so much. What method of ranked choice voting would you advocate for? Because there's flaws in each one. And the second question is essentially, are you getting support from Republicans who in Illinois are more at risk of having their districts gerrymandered?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. On the subject of ranked choice voting, I would maybe say, in terms of discussing the pros and cons of different methods of RCV, our friends at Fair Vote Illinois are going to be best positioned to talk through those details. So I'd highly recommend if you're ever curious and want to reach out to them, they are the experts on this sort of thing. And yes, I'd say an interesting aspect of working in good government and democracy reform, especially here in Illinois, as I've learned, you find allies in unexpected places, and I think especially if we find common ground, reaching through every single aisle, and Republicans are interested in joining us. I think we've particularly experienced at RFI in the past interest from Republicans on issues like ethics reform, feeling like they're kind of shut out from significant progress on ethics and an interest in kind of reining in things like, revolving door provisions in Illinois that could be strengthened. So yes, I'd say that is, in my experience, I know for a fact, been a very interesting part of my work is finding, common ground really with anybody, which is rewarding in our current political climate. Yeah.
In addition to dark money, there's a lot of other forms of coordination. I know out on the Northwest side, you'll see various nonprofits sort of donating an entire staff member over, and that doesn't get reported. I've seen campaigns where it's, campaign staff will be 7 people and 5 of them will work for unions or nonprofits, and the candidate will claim that they're running on a budget of $20,000. How do you address that as part of dark money, or is that a different way that money's coming in without being reported?
Yeah, I would say in general, so the current bill, HB 5154 that we have in Springfield, not, to the best of my understanding, dealing with what you're describing. I think that is an interesting question of maybe like how we continue to expand upon our existing regulations around like in-kind contribution disclosure. I think it's absolutely a very interesting question, but not currently in the text of this bill, though I will say like very excited about the other provisions in it that deal with coordination between candidates and super PACs, because I know we at Reform for Illinois, we were just extremely disappointed with particularly that Darren Bailey case that the State Board of Elections actually couldn't even move forward because we lack a definition. So excited to see, and if we can pass HB 5154, and if everyone wants to contact your state reps and state senators, please feel free to do so. We would love the attention on that bill, and we're hopeful about what it can achieve.
Any other questions?
One more. If we had this matching, would every candidate have to, would they be capped to what was being given to them by the municipality or the state?
Yes, I think if I'm understanding your question, so the program does have a cap for what you can receive in matching funds. That's just for the viability of the program as a whole. So what it looks like is, for instance, like, as a candidate, you can receive up to $150 in matching contributions from Chicagoans for each individual Chicago resident who wants to contribute to you. If you're opting in to participate in our program, the overall limit for funds you can receive from the program is $150,000. Is that answering your question, or did you have some
no,
more?
can somebody decide not to take matching funds and get outside?
Oh, yes. To clarify as well, something that we think is very important, and another reason why I mention these public financing programs is a really excellent tool in our current political environment. They're opt-in by their very nature. So candidates under our program for Chicago aldermen, you're opting in to participate. So in doing so, you're receiving those public funds. You're agreeing in our program to abide by additional restrictions on the contributions you can receive, so lowered contribution limits. We also require, for instance, that candidates that participate in the program participate in 2 debates at a minimum, so some additional fund requirements that way. But it does mean, yes, if candidates don't want to participate in the program at all, they don't receive any public funds, they can fundraise normally, but opt in, and essentially the nature of opt-in programs has been upheld, I believe, by courts across the country as a valid exercise of our ability to kind of regulate campaign finance, which is why
we have one more.
Yeah.
So on Matt Martin's proposal, so the most that if I was running for alderman, the most I could spend on my campaign is $150,000.
So actually, to clarify, so we do not have a spending limit under this program. So what it means is, in public funds, what you can receive is $150,000 total. The other detail of the program that I have not mentioned yet, but is a cool aspect, we have something called base payments written in. We really tried to go and talk to as many jurisdictions as we could around the country to, again, kind of gather the best practices for these programs. Something we heard time and time again was, as helpful as these matching programs are, having a way to kind of get a good amount of funding early on for campaigns is key to their viability and success. So these base payments, basically once you qualify to participate in our program, which we do have a threshold to basically prove that you're running at least like a moderately viable campaign, you have support in your ward to run. Once you do so, you receive $50,000. So the $50,000 is the base payment we give you. So if you need to hire staff, if you need to rent an office, you're able to do that more easily. And then, like I mentioned, it's $150,000 total that you can receive in matching funds. So in total, that's $200,000 of public funds. We crunched the numbers at Reform for Illinois, and our coalition crunched the numbers as well. It's about $200,000 to run a successful campaign for aldermen in Chicago, at least based on the last municipal cycle. Some races ended up being higher for sure. But the important point to note, you can continue fundraising once you've hit your cap of matching funds. We don't have a strict spending limit. Spending limits are often viewed as kind of more vulnerable to legal challenges, particularly again in this Supreme Court environment. So we do not have that in our current legislation, our current ordinance. So, for instance, the lowered contribution limits that you are accepting when you participate in this program say that I, as an individual, can donate up to $500 to your campaign. Only $150 of that gets matched, but if I want to continue to donate to that campaign, I can, up to the $500. So that's kind of how we navigated that question, if that makes sense.
It's actually the average campaign's about 240,000.
Yes, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. It ends up being a little bit higher, and certain races, oh my gosh, certain races are extremely expensive, but we hope that's a good threshold for.
Kim knows I know that answer.
All righty. Okay.
Thank you.
I want to ask you for a favor on everybody. Can we get a fact sheet from you that's by all the legislation you guys are proposing and what it is and what the House and Senate bills are?
Sure.
So that would help us a ton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so reformedillinois.org is the website. All right.
That's us.
Thank you.
guys.
And while we usually just work with campaigns, because it's campaign finance, you heard that we kept you because we had questions, because that's who NDFA is. We are now on to the stories portion of the, right? So again, we have some candidates. And now, Karina, I know you actually had this very mic for a second before we had some other questions. So I'm guessing you would like to come out, Karina Miller? Come on. Perfect.
Hi, everyone. I was so excited to get your endorsement. Can I just say that? When I came in and I spoke, I left and I was like, how do you think I did? Do you think I'll get the endorsement? I kept asking myself, did I get the endorsement yet? It really meant a lot to me. And let me just review a little bit about the campaign. This campaign had a heart of its own. I really don't know how else to explain it. It had its own life. It had its own breath. It had its own heart. There's no other explanation as to how the hell we got so close to beating out a few billionaires. There's no other explanation. And that heart and soul of this campaign was fueled by everyday people. And it was fueled every time I got on a mic, whether it was here, Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, DuPage County, Kane County, I said the same exact words. I didn't mince them, I didn't change them, I didn't alter them for the audience. It was, I am here because I want to run for this seat to be a voice for everyday people in the state of Illinois, because you all are paying way too much in taxes. You all are struggling to make ends meet. There are people in this state who are committing suicide because they don't have access to the health care they need because they're in the midst of transitioning. And there are people in this state who are losing their farms that have been in their families for generations and are therefore committing suicide. This is a problem. And there are solutions that can bring us together. And that was what kept this campaign going. And so the lessons learned are, I need to make sure that we are continuing this momentum. Anywhere I'm invited, I'm going to continue going and speaking and hearing and listening to people. We need to really expand our campaign knowledge. It's not just about the candidates. It's really about training up an infrastructure of candidates. This time it was really difficult because there were so many different campaigns. I could tell you so much about my campaign. I'm going to try. That we're recording, so I'm not going to. But I will say, I got a campaign manager in January and a field director in February. Can you believe we came that close? Like that? That's incredible. What that tells me is that Illinois is ready for a working class progressive who's going to start on day one unapologetically speaking up and voicing the needs of the people. And if we had had just a little bit more of a runway, we would have been able to accomplish it. When we're talking about money in politics, I'm going to tell you all a story. I don't remember if I told it in this room when I was here last time. When I went to get the slating from the Cook County Democratic Party, I had the votes, and the night before, a billionaire by the name of Michael Sachs picked up the phone and he started calling the committee members who had a vote. And he said, Karina Villa is a Hamas-loving, keffiyeh-wearing anti-Semite. And if you vote for her, I will remember in your re-election. A billionaire knew my name. That's the moral of that story. I'm just kidding. So he picked up the phone and did that. Against a school social worker, daughter of immigrants, born and raised in West Chicago, a small town in DuPage County, worked at her family's grocery store, picked up the phone because he was so threatened that I might win. And he was right on that little assessment of his that day. And so, as a result, people flipped and voted against me. And by the way, I don't know if you all know this, I had to sign something before going up to request the endorsement of the Cook County Democratic Party. And what it said was that I understood that if I ran against one of their endorsed candidates, I could never again seek endorsement from the Cook County Democratic Party. So there are things, my friends, that we need to think about in terms of how our party is moving and how the party is working and how maybe the party isn't working.
Yes.
And every single seat is so critical and vital. And I just thank you all for having that energy to keep going, to have your eyes forward on the next election cycle. The most important seat that anyone could ever run for is school board. Period. Those students deserve us to be fully invested in our candidates for school board. So thank you so much. I'll end there. It looks like there might be a question.
I just want to tell you that they'll forget about that. You go and always be there because that is a marketing opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all.
One more question. Just one more.
Okay.
So again,
Okay, why don't you back?
I'll take long. So your passion is unbelievable.
Hold on.
But the question, okay, so I know you're in the Senate. One of the problems in the House is that the House is very niche based, right? You represent the group that you grew up with, right? Social work. If you're a physicians, whatever, lawyers. The problem is when it comes to doing all the research, the committees don't control the research. That's all controlled by the speaker. And that's a problem. So as a member of the legislature, unless the speaker is behind something for a committee, he's not going to provide leadership and research for the various committees. So they're at the mercy of the various interest groups to make their spiel and say, this is the legislation we want. and not have the ability to research. And that's the problem. I know you're in the Senate, but maybe you're
Interest groups, AKA / sometimes lobbyists. Back to the moral of the story, money and politics. But that's why groups like yours are so important, right? Because you help get people elected and you make sure that they don't forget. They don't forget what they promised once they got elected. And that is so important. Because at the end of the day, we do answer to our constituents. At the end of the day, we do have to take those phone calls. And let me tell you, I have said to people, if I ever get to a place where I am not listening to you, then my expectation is that you find someone to run against me. You find someone to run against me. So that is what democracy is about. We have to be responsible to our constituents. And this round of folks that just got elected, they need to be responsible to their constituents too. And we're not going to forget that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. As we get there, I'm sort of standing for anybody else who wants to come up. If you can kind of come right to where I'm at, and that way the streamers can hear you. And again, if the folks that are here at Platform 47, we are trying to stream, so it's a little easier with a little quiet in the background. Anybody else would like to? Nick Kaczynski, come on out, come on down.
Am I in my light? Can you see me? Hi, everybody.
You're good.
So I am Nick Unajewski, and I ran for state senate in the 6th district. I know we have a few people from the 6th district here. Lincoln Park, Lakeview, Gold Coast, Northside. And I want to tell you about all that we did. You know, we talk a lot about dark money in politics tonight, and we saw it so up close and personal in a state senate race against somebody like me. So I jumped into this race, and we ran the first contested state senate primary in the 6th district in over 52 years. And against all odds, we got within 10% of a 30-year incumbent. And we had a lot of fun doing it, too. So what I love about this work is that it is all so deeply personal. You know, I got my start in organizing years ago. I worked on campaigns for a bit. I worked in abortion rights. I actually helped get Karina elected years ago. And thank you, clap for that. She's awesome, isn't she? And the work continues, right? There's so much work we have to do here for school board, yes, in November, for getting all of our great Democrats like Daniel Biss elected, for sure. And also continuing that work in the off time. You know, there's so much we have to do locally to keep up the heat for our city council and so many other people up and down the ballot. In our race, we had so many people get involved for the first time, whether it was volunteering for the first time, donating for the first time, voting for the first time, wearing fun sweaters for the first time. There's a lot we have done. We knocked on over 80,000 doors. Nobody on the north side has done that in a long, long time. And what I learned on this campaign was that door knocking works. Right. You know, sending all those texts works. Sorry that we bombarded you. Making calls to voters works. And when you do knock on the doors, when you listen to people, you know what the top thing I heard was? I said, hey, what do you think about your state senator? And half the people told me who. The other half of people told me, you know, I don't really think about Dick Durbin. So close, so close. But what I really resonated with is that so many people have been never asked what they thought about the issues before. And that is a real shame to me. You know, we ran this race very heavy on policy. We talked about the need to build more housing so people can afford to live here and stay here. We talked about transit, reforming it, modernizing it, making sure people can get where they need to go on time in a way that's safe, clean, and efficient. And then we talked about dark money. And some people didn't like that. You know, we talk about where we are as a state right now, and at all of the salons I hosted, we hosted nearly 300 salons. Small group gatherings, not too different from this, where we get together and talk about the issues, and dark money in politics came up every single time. As we got closer to the end of the campaign, we saw all these bad actors fly in last minute to protect an incumbent who just frankly is not doing the work. The Democratic Party of Illinois spent more money against me than any other candidate in the state. That ain't right. No. And you got to say why. Why? Why are they threatened by this organizer who's connected with the people? Because I rejected all corporate money. I can't be bought. Because the people I care about are you all. The people who live here. On top of that, we also had 2 dark money super PACs against me. One of them was run by Michael Sachs. And it was fascinating to see attack ads about myself. That was very fun. But when I think toward the future, the work still continues. We have so much more work to do. And, for me, I'm a real person. I need to recharge a little bit. But, what will I do next? And I know for sure the only thing I know is that I'm going to keep organizing. I'm going to keep showing up in rooms like this. I'm going to keep fighting like hell all day long against insurance companies, against charter schools, all these bad actors that want to keep things exactly the way things are because it is not working for people right now. And I know there's more work we can do. So there's a lot at the state level we can do for people. We have a full Democratic supermajority. Call your state senator and state rep's office every day. The committee deadline to get bills through the Senate is next Friday. There's a lot of work we got to do there. Certainly on things we care about, housing, transit, good governance, but so many other things across the board too. In the meantime, I'm not going anywhere. I am still your neighbor. You will see me on my bike. You will see me on the streets, and you will see me at the bar. So thank you all for all of your help. I do appreciate everything that NDFA has done and will continue to do. Thank you, Mary Claire, for all of your fabulous work over the years. And thank you all for showing up, because showing up is the baseline. So thank you all.
And of course, you'll still come to NDFA, right, Nick? That's right. All right, anybody else?
Cam.
Oh, wait, actually, wait. Yeah, Matt?
No, Cam's got to...
Oh, Cam's got to leave?
Yeah.
Okay, Cam Davis. Come on down.
We need your wisdom.
Well, I can't help you on the wisdom part, but I can't help have a great conversation here. First thing I want to do is I just want to acknowledge my colleague on the board that NDFA has supported over and over again, Sharon Waller. And I really want to thank my friends, all of you here at NDFA, especially Mary Claire, especially Ray, Ed, Joe, and so many others. I came tonight because I didn't necessarily want to talk about my campaign. It was kind of boring in some ways because I was uncontested. I'd like to think that that's because I just scared off all other contestants or potential contestants. But really, I never saw myself as an elected official. But I took my son and my wife to my old boss's farewell speech in McCormick Place in January of 2017. And one of the things that he said is, look, if you're disappointed in your elected officials, pick up a clipboard. Run for office yourself. And I love these words, dive in and stay at it. The dive in reference to water. And I knew that night that I had to move from being just a normal policy geek, a Public Interest Clean Water Act attorney, to being an elected official, because I knew who had just was taking over the White House. And I was very nervous, as we all had reason to be, about what was coming. So, I will tell you this. There is no way somebody like me, who is a policy nerd, could possibly win an election, even for MWRD, unless there was an organization with a soul called NDFA. And what I mean by NDFA has a soul is you guys ask novel questions during endorsements. So this is my feedback to you. Here's what's going well. One of the very novel questions is, are you qualified to run for this job? Because I was shocked to learn that qualifications don't necessarily matter, but you guys ask. Like, why do you really want to run for this position? Is it because you want to just kind of skip on to the next thing? Or is it because you want to get your feet wet Sorry.
Points.
Is it that you want to do the job that you're running for and do it as if it is the most important thing you're ever going to do in your life. And you guys saw in me and others that you've endorsed that that's who your candidates that you endorse, that's who they really are. So you guys have a soul. That's what I mean by that. Do not change that. And I'm going to tell you, I think it is for much more important reasons than you can ever imagine. You know, one of these days, we're not going to be living in the kind of nightmare scenario that we are now under the Trump administration. I want to see a progressive Democratic Party come out of the other end of this having learned some lessons. I want to see a Democratic progressive party that is going to reacquaint itself with why it is picking the candidates it's picking. And one of the things that I have learned, and I've just come to have faith in it, is do the damn job. Just do the job and have faith that you all and others are going to see that you're actually working on behalf of the public. Don't play the cute political games. Don't engage in the backstabbing. Don't engage in that silly stuff. Do the damn job. And at the end of the day, there is very little that brings us together more than water. It doesn't matter what your age, what your religion, how you identify in any other way, we all need it to be clean so that we can survive and thrive. And NDFA gets that. Most people, their eyes glaze over when you talk about these positions. But you guys care about it every bit as much as you do any other position, national, state, what have you. Thank you for having a soul, NDFA.
A quiet segue.
Awesome. Save the best for last.
There we go.
Hi, guys. I'm Matt Conroy. I ran in the Democratic primary in the 5th District against Mike Quigley. Didn't win. Thanks. No kidding.
You got name recognition.
I'm kidding. That's great. No, it really is. Honestly, and to NDFA, to Ray, to Joe, to Mary Claire, to EJ, to everyone, you guys have had me out at the meetings before. Like, thank you so much. Like, I honestly can't tell you how grateful and thankful I am to every single one of you. Whether you voted for me or not, just give me the opportunity to showcase my platform, my campaign, what I was running on, and just wanting to be the change that I want to see in the Democratic Party. And like from the bottom of my heart, I'm eternally grateful. And if you ever run for office, I will sign your petitions. Seriously, like that is how we make change happen. Seriously, that is how we make change happen. And this is just the start. This is just the start. Because Mike Quigley is going to lose the mayoral race, and we're going to kick his ass in 2028. So, and quick, I want to say a note about Karina and Nick, and like watching the campaigns they ran, like casting a vote for them as well as myself. Like it was such a proud day for me. So like, you guys are fucking awesome. Seriously. Like Nick stopped by my house when he was knocking doors. My wife made him tea. Like she might be the only person who loves Nick more than I do. Yeah. So yeah. And if you guys ever knocking doors, we'll make you tea. Come on in, stay warm in the winter. So. And then the last thing, just FYI, Mike Quigley's running for mayor. Mike Sachs is part of the super PAC that funds him. So just FYI, pay attention to that. So. Look, our campaign was something that we said was going to be two things, unafraid and uncompromised, and we were true to that. We spoke about the issues, whether that they were divisive, like the genocide in Gaza that I strongly want to stop, that I know a majority of Democratic voters don't, but it's still a divisive topic. There are people on the other side of the issue. I'm not afraid to talk about it. And that is the type of elected official that you need at every level. Whatever the issues, you cannot be afraid to talk about it. You cannot be afraid to take your stances and afraid to answer questions. And uncompromised. I will never, regardless of what office I run for, regardless of what position I'm in, I will never sell out the people who put me in office, which is the voters, the constituents, you guys. I will never take a cent of corporate PAC money, never take a cent of lobbyist money, special interest money, because the moment that I do, I put myself in a position when legislation comes up that they're going to say, hey man, we need this, and it's going to screw your voters over. And I will never ever want to be in that position because I don't want to have to look myself in the mirror. On our campaign too, we found that we went out to places that Mike really doesn't even know are part of the district. Barrington, Palatine, Schiller Park, Rosemont. If you guys need help finding them on the map too, I'll help you guys out. Like that's how gerrymandered this district is. But you know, and we talk to a lot of Democratic voters. We talk to a lot of Republican voters. Like they exist in this state, and across the board, every single voter is completely upset with the status quo, with their elected officials not representing them. And we're going to continue to push for that change. We're going to call our state senators. We're going to call our state reps. We're going to call Congressman Quigley. We're going to push them in the direction they need to go. Because while we don't physically occupy that office, that doesn't mean that we can't influence policy and we can't influence the direction that the party needs to go. And to give you an example, and this is the number one thing where I think that the party is completely lost, and I'm going to use Nick's race as an example. The Democratic Party dumped in almost $200,000 to support a out-of-touch Islamophobic state senator. Think about where they could have used that $200,000, maybe in a purple district downstate, or a district that they could push from red to blue. That's not having a strategy. That's not having a plan. That's keeping the status quo. That's keeping your donors happy. That's keeping everything that we fucking hate still happening, because the party is not fighting for us. And I really hope that moving forward that we all just realize that whatever change we want to see, whether it's on specific policy, whether it's on a singular issue, whether it's on money in state politics, we have to just do a little bit more. So if you don't continue, if you're someone right now who shows up to vote, shows up to these meetings, call your state senator, send emails, show up at protests. You know, you don't have to devote your entire life in every single waking moment. We all have to do just a little bit more. And that's what I'm going to take from here moving forward. And I'm going to make sure I show up to these meetings. I show up to the indivisible meetings in my neighborhood. I live down in Lincoln Park, in my neighborhood. I continue to talk to people out in the suburbs who have been ignored by our representatives for this district, and make sure that they know that if they see my name on the ballot next time, that I'm still going to be that same person, that I'm going to listen to them, that I'm going to work to address their issues. And that is what representatives in government truly should do. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It was honestly it was the greatest experience running for office and getting to talk to all of you and getting out there and being a voice for people who are feeling the same way that I am and still do feel the same way. So thank you so much. If there's anything I can ever advocate for on your behalf, or like I said, I'll sign your petitions, I'll help get you on the ballot, please let me know. So
my consulting fee is $5,000 a month.
I'm good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. Yay. Well, these meetings are often about people that actually did knock on the doors, make some phone calls, stand out on Lakeshore Drive on a really cold day handing out lit, which is what I did. For Drake Warren. Who won? I don't know if are there folks that want to talk about fun, weird, cool things that happen? Beth, come on up. Beth Rockford is steering committee on one of our police boards.
Police District Council.
Police District Council.
I have two quick things that I want to highlight. One was a crazy story. I stood for most of the day on election day doing work for Jessica Vasquez, again, one of our endorsed candidates who did win. And I was at a polling place, and I had given this couple, the little things that we were passing out, the palm cards. And they went in, and then they came out, and as they were coming out, the woman says to the guy, I didn't know anybody's names on the ballot. And he said, well, I did. I took a Democratic ballot. And she said, well, you know that I always take a Republican ballot. Why didn't you tell me? He goes, well, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. And she's like, I can't believe you let me take the wrong ballot. And so then, like, they go past me as they're saying this, and then they get to the car, which is not very far from where I was standing, and she's still yelling at him that he let her take the wrong ballot. So I just thought that was really funny, and I wanted you all to know, like, maybe when we're passing out the palm cards, we should actually be telling people Democratic Party. Because that might help them not to take the wrong ballot. And then the other thing I just wanted to highlight, we don't always know like the impact that we have. One of the candidates that we endorsed, who was that person who wanted to actually do the job, was Sarah Murray, who ran for Water Reclamation District, and unfortunately was not elected because of the games that the Cook County Democratic Party plays. But I had a meet and greet for Sarah as well as for Miguel, who did win in the 40th district. But I had them to my house. I'm not crazy about having guests in my house, but I was like, this is important, I should do it. So I had them both at an event, and the people from Miguel's district were so impressed with Sarah that they actually brought her into the 33rd Ward, endorsed her, and she actually did really well and actually beat the, her opponent in the 33rd Ward and in the 35th Ward, where they were passing out a lot of the same literature. So I say that to encourage anybody and everybody who is a little bit reluctant to get involved, to door knock, to have a meet and greet at your house. You don't necessarily have to ask anybody for money. It's really just about letting people you know about the candidates that you care about. So please continue to do that kind of thing as we move forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Chuck? Wait till you get on camera. Wait till you get on camera. And get a mic.
We're not.
Or not.
I hope, Joe, when you were on Lakeshore Drive, you weren't in the middle of Lakeshore Drive.
No, I'm in front of an annual congregation.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, you guys are a little confusing. Anyway, I just want to build a little bit about what Karina talked about. Is trying to be. Oh, my name's Chuck Weber. I'm a member of the steering committee. So one of the things that we want. I got to stand on the table. So one of the things that we want to start being able to do is develop candidates and have the resources to do that. It's when we develop candidates and getting them aware of what a campaign's really involved, fundraising, issues, progressive issues, and how to build an organization. And to do that, we want to start doing some fundraising. So I want to talk about, we're going to have a barbecue on the 28th of June. So I want to start getting that out there now. The 20, is it the 27th? What's a Saturday? Is it 20?
Saturday the 27th.
It's the 27th, I stand corrected. The 27th of June. It's going to be up in near Six Corners. The address, if you want to write it down, is 4106 North Lawler. We'll have brochures and information. That information will be on our website. But we really want to build this organization. We also want to take the opportunity at our barbecue to give thanks to Mary Claire. So this is going to be a barbecue to give her thanks for everything that she's done, as well as trying to strengthen the organization. So I just wanted to throw that out there, make sure it's on folks' calendars. You help us by supporting it, letting people know, and we look forward to a nice sunny day and try to get as many people out there as you can. So thanks.
What time?
It's going to be from 12 until 3.
A.M.
No. It's going to start at noon and end at 3 o'clock.
There will be plenty on it. Watch your inboxes, watch the NDFA Facebook page and various social media feeds. Anybody else?
Somebody else wanted to talk about a war story.
Yeah, was there another war story? Again, or a story? I mean, again, I'm sort of hesitating to use the word war.
I could talk about Demi.
Oh, yeah.
And what David Hogg sent out just today about her. That
this is Demi, full name, Demi Polachek, who won what race? You endorsed candidate, and she won 13th U.S. 13th Illinois State House.
But she had a large amount of dark money, we'll say, from FanDuel and DraftKings that was supporting Adam Braun. And even though he received that money so that then he could take off the tax, thank you, Mary Claire, the taxes that are now on that sports betting is where they should be. She still got money from the David Hogg's group and support from us and won. So we mean a lot, and we have a lot of more good things to do.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So you heard a lot of candidates that we have helped. And for a little background, again, Democracy for America started in the wake of the Howard Dean campaign all the way back in 2004. And I'm going to paraphrase and probably paraphrase very badly, but one of the things he said is that the best way to be a Democrat is to run for an office. Quite a few of the people that you saw ran. Daniel was one of our first candidates that we supported way back when. So much so, by the way, that in NDFA we have a rule that is called the BIS rule, which is that if you run and you are a member, you become a voting member because you ran for office. So everybody that just spoke, you are a member of NDFA. For those of you that are in the room or outside, of course, we ask you to attend 3 meetings, either in person or virtually, and to volunteer. Ideally, you'll volunteer for a campaign, but there are, of course, so many other actions. We had the No Kings rally. If you went to one of the No Kings rallies, that counts for membership here, as long as you tell us. You gotta tell us who you worked for, ideally what time, what other benefits, or if you went to a benefit in person, not just cut a check or scan a QR code, or went to a protest and you tell us you get to vote. And what do you get to vote for? One of the things, of course, is you can endorse candidates. All of our endorsed candidates who go on to the general election in November, you can keep working for those campaigns. They count for us. We will certainly be doing other endorsements. Some, maybe a candidate that won a primary that we might want to endorse for the general. We also, as you mentioned, we're going to be involved in the school board races and the police council races as well. By the time that's done, guess what? We've got mayoral and aldermanic elections coming up about a year from now. And when that's done, guess what? There's going to be some more primaries, including president. Yes, there will be. And unlike so many of those other groups, we work for candidates. We work on candidacies. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us. That's our niche. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors.
Yes. Tell everybody.
We're coming. And in fact, that actually leads us to, when we're done tonight, we are voting for a set of candidates for NDFA steering committee. And again, Mary Claire and Beth, who you saw, are stepping down, and we have space for those who might want to join us for 2 years to plan these meetings, to plan special events, to talk to candidacies. increasingly to talk to other groups, because there are a lot of other groups. But we were the first. We were one of the first. So, but we want to work with Indivisible. We want to work with some of the voting rights groups.
IPOs.
Hey, David Hogg, if you're listening to us, dude, we'll talk to you. Come and give us a call. And build the coalition, build the community. That's why we're here again. We want to thank Jason at Platform 47 for giving us a home and keeping us here. And that is, I wanted to get the logistics done. Now, you have actual announcements, right?
I have a few.
Go.
Yeah. April 22nd here at Platform 47. Indivisible Lincoln Square will be holding a meeting. So anybody who wants to attend that, it's just an everybody come meeting, and it's just a meet and greet type thing. But it's here, and it's on my birthday too. So, I know.
It'll be great to be 35.
May 1st, as you know, it's May Day, and it's the day that I think we could just stay home. So, oh, okay, then you have to rally in March too.
But there is that's going to be Indivisible
no,
King's first attempt at a
boycott.
General strike.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's a Friday.
Hence this.
Yes. Okay.
Shout out to my adjunct union peeps out there.
So I think we'll just call it that because we have elections.
All right. So again, for those of you that are NDFA members, stick around. There's going to be a ballot. There's still space for anybody that would like to step up and run one more time to be part of the NDFA steering committee. And then in May, we're already lining up speakers.
For the school board.
Yeah, word is we'll not only be running the meeting, we're sort of a nominal there are going to be two people that need to replace the work Mary Claire does, which tells you the kind of work Mary Claire was doing. Mary Claire. One more cheer for Mary Claire to sing us. Hip hip. All right. And that was pretty. I don't know what kind of cheers, but again, thanks. You will remain a valued member as with everybody else. Stick around. Come back in May. Tell us what you did. Bye.
Thank you.